and I didn't always embrace my Black American cousins. And I've had a lot of unlearning to do, and I now embrace the Black struggle as a whole. However, sometimes Black Americans do not in turn embrace me. And Black Americans had to go through Jim Crow. So when you have a group of people like Black Americans who have experienced what they have experienced for hundreds of years, and then decades of Jim Crow discrimination and segregation.
So in this video, I only gave a little tidbit of what the lady was saying, but overall, she was saying that they overall do not feel like Black Americans tend to embrace them. And then she was giving the reasons why, in her opinion. So she was mentioning Jim Crow, segregation, overall breaking up the Black family. So overall with slavery, etc., it was a different way, a different form than overall anywhere else. Okay, so in America it was a much more brutal practice that was being done with laws that are still present to this day, and actions as well of other people to this day, as opposed to in other countries. Not saying it wasn't bad, but it was just different. Okay, and that's what the main thing was. It was just different experiences. But one thing I thought was interesting was how she mentioned that Black Americans tend to incorporate everybody else into their bills. Okay, if something needs to be changed, the thing about it is this, and this is from my own perspective on it. When you look at a whole, if you look at a little chart or whatever, Black people would tend to be at the bottom. So this is one of those things where it's like, oh, well, if a Black person wants it, well, we could just go and give it to the Asians, the Indians, the Hispanics. We give it to all these other people over here. That's perfectly fine, because it'll trickle down and get to the Black people, as opposed to just doing something specifically for Black people. There's a difference between giving me the leftovers from this bill as opposed to making something with the bill that is specifically for us. All right, so that's one of the things. And she was mentioning how Black Americans tend to include everybody else with their stuff, even with certain phrases. Black and brown people, we must stand up. Black and brown, but I never heard a brown person say brown and Black people, we must stand up. I've never really heard that, because you just don't really see that. So brown people could mean anyone that is just not white, right? So that could be your Asian people, because I've even seen them added in there. It could be your Indian people, it'd be your Hispanics people, etc., right? So how come if it's like an Asian person, I don't see them saying anything? If it's an Indian person, I've never heard them say like, okay, Black and brown people, or brown and Black people, let's go and organize, let's go and work together. I've never really heard that at all. It's always Black people saying, Black and brown people, we must. Black and brown people, we have to. Now, you'll have some Hispanic groups that have said it, but overall, everyone is worried about their own community. Black people tend to worry about everybody else's. So I thought it was interesting that she mentioned that she didn't feel that embrace from Black Americans, because Black Americans tend to include everyone all the time anyways, at the detriment of ourselves. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But she goes on to say how, your Africans, your Caribbean, etc., Black people come to America, and the reason why she feels that embrace is not there is because she says that when all these other kind of Black people come into America, they kind of come with this kind of, with their nose in the air, with this, not aristocrat, but they come as though like Black Americans are seen as being less than. So it's one of those things where it's kind of disrespect in that way. So overall, what she's saying here is kind of like an ode to Black Americans, like an apology, because, hey, I see that you all have had different experiences. I see that you all have had to endure different things than what we've had to endure. And the reason why we're here is because it was on the backs of you guys, so overall she is trying to apologize for the collective, if you will, in regards to this. But I just find it interesting how, she mentions, in here as well, essentially Black Americans are so forgiving and we're so understanding and whatnot. And I guess this would be to also forgive and understand where everyone else is coming from, and we need to forgive them for their actions upon us. So let me know what you all think about what it is that she mentioned and my dissertation of it down below.